Welcome back. This is AR's Tales, aka the A.R.T podcast. I am AR Mirabal, and I am joined today by Alex Bliss. How you doing, Alex?
I'm good. I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm great. Where can people find you? Where's the social media, Instagram? Drop the tags, drop everything.
Yeah, I do have a Instagram, and my username is Alex Alex with a Y, Alexe with a Y, and then Bliss with a Y. So that's my Instagram handle. I also do have Twitter by the same username. Those are the only social media um, platforms I'm on. Yeah, you can find me there.
Okay,
Check
that's
me
all.
out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before we get into, because I know you write motivational books, correct?
Yeah, I call it personal development. It's
Personal development.
personal development. It's actually the only I've written one book so far. So my debut, I published my debut, self-published by the way, in October
Woo!
2020.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so that was, but I would call it personal development, um, inspirational, because my work may not be motivational, but it definitely is inspirational.
Mm.
So it would fall under the category of personal development.
Okay, that's awesome. What do you think is the difference between inspiration and motivation? Now that you brought that up.
I think motivation is sort of something that fires you up,
Mm,
like something that gives you the energy to maybe start doing the work. Um, and a work of some you might read a book that is motivational, um, but may not be inspirational. It actually depends. It also depends on how you define the terms. But for me, inspiration is something that sort of inspires you to maybe be a better person, or maybe start doing something that you've always wanted to do. Something that sort of gives you understanding and insight into things, and you're able to expand yourself in that way.
hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting because I personally, I thought of it just because you brought it up, and it was an interesting kind of I guess dichotomy because now that I think about it, what as you were saying it, what I would kind of phrase what you were saying is that inspiration is more of a mental thing. Like you're inspired, like you're watching a Star Wars movie and you will get inspired to write a Star Wars thing, whereas motivation is actually doing it. So inspire is more of like a
Hmm.
mental thing, but motivation is more of a physical, actually doing a thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, an inspirational work will have a longer effect on you, but motivation sort of, it's if you're not keen on following it up, and focusing your energy there, you might lose it. It might be momentary, but something inspirational lasts longer, you know.
Man, that is powerful. You are not lying. I've never thought about that, but it's 100% true. I mean, I myself, I mean, every especially in today's world, I feel like everybody's like so focused on like the idea of inspirational and being motivational, and this idea of like is that like you can achieve the state that you're always positive and always doing great, but like it really is a come and go. Like I would consider myself a pretty motivated person, but it just there's certain times that you just hit like a like one, and I can't even say it's that you hit a rock. Sometimes it's a pebble. You know, sometimes it's like
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
little something, and they're just like enough to go like, you know what, maybe I'll just watch TV for a couple hours instead, and it just goes, and like I'm the same type of person that like depending on the year, on September I can be working 12 hours a day, sleeping, doing nothing, blah blah, and then 4 months after that, I'm watching Netflix, I'm being a bum, and just like, like
Uh-huh.
you're 100% straight that like motivational really does it. It's almost like a clock going backwards. It goes, 12 and 6, 12 and 6, and cyclical. Whereas inspiration is just like a
Mm-hmm.
block that drops on you. The things that inspire me have
Mm-hmm.
inspired me since a kid, and have been and will inspire me
Mm-hmm.
as an adult and till I die.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never thought about it like that. It's a beautiful thought. Wow.
Yeah, and I remember when I have listened to a couple of motivational speakers, even when I was in high school. We used to have, normally after the presentation, there would be this surge of energy that makes you feel that I want to do this, I want to do this. Maybe I want to try something new. So there's that very momentary, powerful feeling of wanting to get started on something. But then underneath that, if you care to look, underneath that, there may be something inspirational behind the whole thing that lasts longer, and that even when the powerful speech is sort of waning and losing its impact on you, there's something beneath that sort of lingers and stays with you and keeps you on track for a very long time. So I'm always looking for something inspirational whenever I want to get started on something major. For example, when I started writing my book, and it was a roller coaster sort of a ride because it was an in and out thing. Um, Sometimes I would feel dry, and I'd shelve the book for months, and then I'd come back after maybe finding something inspirational. So inspiration, I think inspiration is what I think I'd call myself, or what I'd say really, what I'd say has helped me is inspiration. I'm always looking for inspiration. When I walk in the woods, I'm looking for inspiration. When I speak to people, exchange ideas, I'm looking for inspiration. So that has been the basic force of propulsion that has helped me in a lot of my undertakings.
Wow, that's again beautiful thought. So, what is the name of your book? Where can people find it? Plug it. What's up?
My book is called Weaving Back the Thread. That's the title, and the subtitle is An Invitation to New Ways of Being in the World. The book is on Amazon. It's available in two versions: the Kindle version and the paperback version. So whichever you like, whether Kindle or paperback, they're both available on Amazon.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful cover too. I have it. I actually have it on another tab towards the end. We can post it up and do a share screen so you can talk a little bit of the cover and that whole process. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as the writing, the actual writing of the book, can you go a little more in depth about it? Especially where you were just saying then about putting it on the shelf and the whole, because the book, it's actually almost funny that you're writing, as you said, a personal development book, and you yourself had to develop personal development just to write the book. It's almost like a catch 22.
Mm-hmm. um, it's the process was interesting, and the impetus or the inspiration, what drove me to write the book was, it was a lot of things really, and I didn't just sit and decide to write a book. It came about as a result of me sitting and trying to figure out, I'm an introspective person, and right from especially from my early 20s, I've always been this introspective person, trying to look into the nature of things and asking questions such as, why am I here? Um, so the some of the questions that I was trying to address, and then you also find them in the book, is I was trying to think about my situatedness here on earth, like asking myself, where do I belong? And I think it's one of the major existential questions that we ask ourselves as humans. Where do I belong? where exactly am I situated in the whole scheme of things? In the scheme of things, where am I? Trying to locate yourself in the vastness of the world. So and also trying to understand the purpose of my existence. So I think that those are some of the things that drove me to the purpose, the issues of meaning, the healing the pain we go through, and also looking for the lessons we learn when we go through these experiences. So
And
those
oh, I'm sorry. Continue.
some of the things that inspired the book, really, and wanting to want out there and talk about, or we may feel uncomfortable talking about. Really, it's like the subtitle says, it's an invitation to new ways of being in the world. I'm putting out that invitation out there, and trying to encourage a conversation around issues that I think are relevant in today's world.
I like that a lot. What did you find in your introspective journeys? Like what
That's a big question.
yeah, what answers would you walk away with? And because the thing is that one thing that I love the most about life, that, oh my God, I sound like such a but one thing that I love the most about about everything is how much everything changes. How you can
Mm-hmm.
feel a certain way when you're 15 and you really think that's the answer to life. Like you may think that everything else that that could be wrong, but this one thing 100% that's right, no doubt about it. And then you're 24 and then that one thing is questionable, and then you're 27 and that's completely wrong, and then it's just like, and now you have a new thing that's like, oh well, but this one, that one, no no no, that one is 100% right, I know this one so far, this has been right so far, won't be
Mm-hmm.
changed. And when you're 34 you get slapped again. It is the most beautiful thing that it's almost the reason why I think personal development and motivational speaking and inspirational speaking is the most interesting thing, because how many
Mm-hmm.
times have you heard a really great inspirational speech and you had an epiphany? It hit you. You're like, oh my God, yes, this person put into words what I've been feeling my entire life. This is the
Mm-hmm.
answer. And then 3 months later, you're back to the same thing you were doing last year. You know what I mean? It's like things,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's what you were saying with the motivation versus inspiration, which is why I really like that you
Right.
categorized it like that, because the motivation is like you get that fire, yes, this is it, and then
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
that's the most
You
beautiful
know,
thing.
yeah. So, so what's the question? What was the question really? Okay.
So what
The
I would find
epiphany.
is that everything kind of changes. What would be your thing that like
Oh,
that you've taken
yes.
away in a year? Because I'm really introspective too. While you were saying that, I was like really agreeing, because
Mm-hmm.
I also always do that and look inward and like how can, you know, and so while you were saying that, I was 100% agreeing with you. So one thing that I've taken away in my
Okay.
journeys is how much things change. What have you taken
Mm-hmm.
away?
Exactly. And I would agree with you. I would agree with you on that because I have discovered that change, and that's a fact, really. That change is inevitable and it's always occurring. And what we have to do is to adapt to the changes that occur in our lives. But one thing that I would say I know for sure so far, probably the one single thing that has not changed ever since I had that light bulb moment that this is it. One thing that I would say I know for sure is that a lot of the world, probably or let me not generalize, but a lot of things are perspectival, you know? They depend on perspective. And your way of seeing things. In the book, in Weaving Back the Thread, I talk about seeds of consciousness. And even though I do not go to the extent of defining what the most viable seeds of consciousness are, I have laid out, I have tried to explain that that you need to sort of find that out for yourself. You need to figure that out for yourself, because seeds of consciousness, the seeds that that nurture our consciousness, the seeds that sort of feed how do I put this? Um, the seeds that from where our consciousness comes from, they differ from person to person. And my seeds of consciousness, my viable seeds of consciousness may not be your seeds of consciousness, they may not be the other person's seeds of consciousness. So one thing I say is that even though they differ, we have a responsibility to define the universe for ourselves. So meaning that it's your perspective, whatever perspective you adapt, you adapt or you adopt, is what is going to affect affect your experiences with yourself and experiences with other people. So perspectival, everything is perspectival. That's one thing I know for sure. Another thing, major takeaway that I would talk about is that nothing starts or ends abruptly. Like everything exists in a state of continuum. Like everything is in a continuum. So that, for example, if I'm looking to be a better person, what I need to do is that I need to be patient with myself, because then my current state of being doesn't just have to, it can't just stop like now, it has to continue for some time. And then as I continue moving toward the direction I want to go, or maybe intending to move in that direction, then my consciousness helps me move there. And so my change toward my desired state of being is going to occur gradually. So nothing ends or starts abruptly. So I have to be patient with myself and give myself an opportunity to sort of experience things as I go, be merciful to myself and patient with myself, and open to learning in the process of being the person I want to be. Those are some of the things I would say have been
Wow.
my major takeaways.
Those are really, really powerful thoughts.
Thank
Very
you.
powerful thoughts. I would wholeheartedly agree with the first one. Not that I'm not saying I disagree with the second one. It's just the second one. That's almost like to me, that's a cone sound right now. A cone. You know what a cone is? KOAN. I actually might be saying it wrong. It's like
A cone.
yeah, cone. It's something that you would I can't remember what style. I think it's like either Taoist monks or something like that. It's some type of Eastern philosophy where a cone is something that
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have an answer, but you think of just to pass the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like almost
Mm-hmm.
like a chicken and like the chicken versus the egg. That's a cone. It's something that you can just sit back on and like debate within yourself. Like, oh, it could be the chicken, it could be the egg. It's a cone. It's something that you just think about. To
Uh-huh.
me, right now,
Yeah.
the second thing that you
Yeah.
said is a cone. I'm gonna have to think about that for a while. That's a
Mm-hmm.
really powerful thing you said. But the
Mm-hmm.
first one, I felt that
Mm-hmm.
since I was a kid as well, because everything is perspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Always as a kid, like especially when in biology class, they would say like, oh, typical human life expectancy is like 70 years, whereas a fly is like, a day. So you look, be happy you're not a fly. But even as a kid, I'd be like, that's kind of dumb
Uh-huh.
because like to a fly, that one day is a day. That one
Yeah.
day is
Yeah.
like 1,000 years. That day is everything. Why? If
Mm-hmm.
you asked a fly, it's actually really funny. If you were a fly and they were talking about their day, they'd probably like, if they were born at 8 a.m. by like 10, they're probably like, yo, when am I gonna die? What's up? This is taking way too long. Just the same way that we are. You know what I
I
mean?
want to get out of here.
I want
Yeah.
to get out of here. What's up with this? No, I'm done. Whatever.
True. I mean,
So
it's a, yeah, perspective.
yeah, perspective, and especially like as a writer, that's one of my favorite things to think about. You know, the planet is like XYZ years, how many ever years you want to believe, but the sun for sure is billions of years old. So
Hmm.
the fact that we rely on that, and just like to know that eventually it will be the act, like it will kill us, but the
Hmm.
time of that is so far away that prospectively it's like, why
Hmm.
even, that's so far away from me that I can't even say like that like it won't even be my granddaughter's granddaughter, grandkids. They'll all be
Hmm.
dead before the sun could. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
prospectively, like, how could I care? But then, if I were to write a story about the humans on that planet, you would care, because then you're there.
Right.
Now
Right.
you're involved with the emotions. Now they have a daughter. It's like, oh, you don't want to see the daughter die. Perspective is one of my favorite things to talk about. So yeah, I'm loving the way you're thinking. So what would you say are your favorite quotes? Well, not even necessarily quotes, but who are your favorite thinkers? Who are things that when you think of I don't know if you're like a person that plays like MMO games, like video games, but like
Hmm.
if you were to think of certain writers like stats, what which ones would you put on your armor to make sure for the armor of life? 100%. Those are the ones you need to carry with you at all times.
Hmm.
Do you have a Gandhi charm on your
Interesting.
chest? You know what I mean? A
Yeah,
rune of Jesus.
one person, one person that has fascinated me ever since I started to look at some of the things that he's written is a guy. He was a philosopher, um, and most people actually thought of him as a lay thinker. His name is Jacob Behmen. He's a German philosopher, and he was also an anti-clerical dissident, very famous in the 17th century, 17th century figure. Um, but he's actually one of the people that has really shaped my thinking and also my my intellectual development, I would say. And I'm also fascinated by this professor. Her name is Camille Paglia. I don't know whether you've heard of her. Um, because of her, I like her because of the many unpopular opinion that she holds, and basically because of her courage to stand and declare her standpoints without fear in a world that is so much against people who can express opinions that are not necessarily mainstream, you know.
Hmm.
um because it takes a lot of courage to do that, especially these days when people are looking to be agreeable with others,
And
taking a
yeah,
lot of
and people are trying to
caution.
cancel other people that aren't agreeing with others. It's a very
Exactly.
savage
So
society.
it's an age that's characterized by a lot of that. We see individual voices that are trying to express an idea, an opinion. They're either dismissed or maybe thought to be they're either dismissed or um, criticized very viciously. So I like her for her courage. Those are some of the people that have really inspired me over the years.
As I was thinking about that, because it's actually something, because every person that you brought up was actually a philosopher, and it's something that I love myself. As I was thinking, it's like, oh yeah, philosophers are great. I was thinking of Tom and Hobbes, like the whole debate that they had of is man good or evil. Obviously Socrates, of like
Mm-hmm.
of the whole idea of like we really don't know anything, like the whole like the whole of reception and reality. It's like we don't know anything. We're just here floating. There's no
Mm-hmm.
reason for all the hatred and all that. Like we all don't know. The same way that you feel so powerful about your what you feel, I feel powerful about what I feel, and in reality, both of
Mm-hmm.
us are wrong. We know nothing. Uh, and like all the great philosophers. But another thing that just popped into my head is what is a thing that you drew inspiration from that was not philosophical? Like, have you like I can't tell you the amount of times that I felt like depressed about something, and I go out and I'm just looking out. Maybe I'm driving, or well, I can't say really driving out. For whatever reason, when I get sad, I it's like I'm walking somewhere. You know what I mean? Or it's like cold for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know why it's always cold, but like I'm cold, and it's like I can see like my breath, and like I'll just see something
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
nature, or just like an
Yeah. Huh?
animal, and I'll just put so
Yeah.
much energy and like so much uh I can't even like wait on that thing, and I'll derive all answers that I need from from that little incident right there, from that leaf
Mm-hmm.
falling, and
Mm-hmm.
like one I always use is
Yes.
that like a tree in the dead of winter, no leaves on it, but there's that
Mm-hmm.
one leaf that will not die, and literally what causes a tree a plant a plant a leaf on a tree, what causes to change color is stress. When it gets
Mm-hmm.
cold, and the colder it gets, the plant literally changes color as it goes through stress to stay on the tree. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
in the very beginning of winter, a lot of the leaves that are on the ground are green, because those are the ones that gave up quickly. And they're like, whatever. But so that one day, I saw that one leaf not giving up, and it was like, yeah, that leaf's not giving up. Why should I give up? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
that's my favorite, because like there's like the big people that like have figured it out, and you study from them. But what are things that you've seen in your little thing that you've drawn inspiration from, or even cartoons? I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen Looney Tunes and like picked a piece of the of who is God, or just crazy existential problems that I've like deduced by simple things. Watching my niece play with her toys, little things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting because, but I would say, before I even say what I wanted to say, I would say that everything is philosophical.
Yes, a hundred
But I
percent.
but I understand but I understand your point. But I understand your
But
point.
what I'm saying is that
Um,
I
uh,
guess it depends on the situation and the person and how
yeah,
you're feeling that day. But everything is philosophical.
exactly. Yeah. You see, I would say I'm a very interior person. Like I said at the outset, I'm someone who likes to. I'm an introspective person, and even the things that would be recognized as philosophical by a lot of people, um, a lot of those things are things that I have felt as a person individually. Like, for example, I like taking walks in the woods. I like walking, and sometimes just the presence, an indescribable presence in nature, sort of overwhelms me sometimes, and I feel this great sense of connectedness with everything.
Mm.
And there are moments I have walked alone in the woods, and sometimes just looking at nothing in particular, and sometimes I find tears rolling down my cheeks, and I wonder, why am I crying, and then I feel so full. It's like an epiphany of sorts. And there are moments, a lot of moments I've had. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't know whether there are people who feel that way. This is now getting to be woo stuff that um, some people don't believe in. But there are moments I have felt that way, and I think one of the major epiphanies that I would say was direct from my own observation of things in nature, is the feeling of connectedness with everything. The moment I stand and feel connected with everything else and feeling a part of everything else, I think I've had such moments, a lot of them, and the moments that I would say have been unmediated, quote unquote, sort of something that I didn't have to, something that I didn't hear from someone, or something that I didn't have to think about, but something that I felt directly from my observation of what was right in front of my nose. You get me?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Wow. So, what is your idea for a sequel?
A what?
So, for a sequel of the book. So, I'm love like as you said that the whole weaving of the thing, and that it's not a thing that you're permeating on a person, but more of a how to be, you're giving ideas out. You're giving people an idea of what you've learned so
Mm-hmm.
far. So that was the first book. What do you
Yeah.
have an idea for what's coming up? Do you plan on continuing your ideas? Because I mean, I am 100% a fan from everything that I've heard so far, and you need to pick up this man's book on Amazon, paperback, ebook. You need to pick it up. Just everything you've said so far is just beautiful thoughts and beautiful logic. And I'll be real. I'll be completely honest with you. There are a lot of people out there doing the whole inspirational thing and doing the
Mm-hmm.
whole and not as, to me, not all of them have it really, are really doing it as genuinely as you are. So big kudos to that from what everything I've heard so far. There are a lot of people doing it
Thank you. Thank you.
for more of like the social media aspect of it. Like, knowing that if they post something like, "Oh, love
Mm-hmm.
yourself," it's gonna get a lot of likes. That's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people doing that.
Mm-hmm. Thank
But
you.
but
It's
you're
really encouraging
genuine.
hearing that from you,
Yeah. And I
Thank
love,
you.
yeah, I love hearing
If I
what
could,
your thoughts. I'm sorry.
thank you. If I could say something about weaving back the thread, um, you see, the title is figurative, and people have asked me about what do you mean by weaving back the thread? Because, well, the book is not a work of fiction. Maybe someone would expect that this weaving back the thread is a work of fiction, but mine isn't. And the reason I chose that title, and it's something that came to me like pop, in one of those moments where I was sitting with myself alone, because I love to sit with myself alone with my thoughts, and just sort of being sort of going deep within myself. The title came, and I thought, weaving back the thread. And so the book is about weaving back the thread of compassion, weaving back the thread of humanity, weaving back the thread of reason, weaving back the thread of sobriety. It's about weaving a lot of threads that I think should naturally be, you know, um, be in their rightful places in the societal fabric, weaving them back, and sort of creating a world that we would all love to see and live in. Um, it's also the book is also about existential meaning. It's also about uh, crossing of boundaries, the crossing of boundaries of self limitations, and of the limitations that are placed on us through the conventionalism that we're inundated with, every day of our lives. So the book is basically helping us to is a work that endears us to ourselves. It's like a coming back, it's like coming back home, coming back to yourself, and seeking a stable place from where to look at the world and to look at other people. So that's what weaving back the thread is about.
Yeah, if I can be honest, that's actually what I assumed that. Well, I mean, I didn't assume everything you just said then. That's awesome. But I thought of it more kind of like when you have a shirt that's broken, you weave back a thread because it's broken. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's more of how I thought of it. It's the
Mm.
same way, but you obviously kind of like put like a lot nicer spin on it.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, as I said, I mean, I'm loving. Like, do you have just because I gotta ask out of personal curiosity, do you have any like guiding? Well, I don't want to say I was gonna say religious, but I would say more spiritual beliefs. Like, did you ever do
Mm-hmm.
any studying of like Buddhism or Confucianism, Taoism, even
Mm-hmm.
Christianity? Did you ever do any of like that type of like studying of like the different philosophies, and did you like take away things from that? Or even like
Yeah,
modern
yeah.
philosophies, there's a lot of great quotes and thoughts from like even after 19th century.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I may, I will start by talking about a little about myself. In regards to the way I grew up in a religious family. I grew up going to church, and actually, and I've attended church most of my life. But a time came when I felt that organized religion was not good for me,
Mm,
because I felt it was prescriptive,
mm,
um, in a bad way, and wanted to allow my spirit to explore. I wanted to venture outside of the confines religion afforded me, and venturing out is not easy, because then you risk losing community, people whom you've known for a long time, and you risk a lot of things. So it's a path that really you have to. It's a path that requires you to have courage to get yourself on. So I have a background in religion, but then today, I would call myself spiritual, as opposed to religious. And you asked, do I study different religions and pull out different things that I find important or helpful to me? Yes, I do. And I'm a very omnivorous reader. I read anything that can make me a better person. I pull out things from mystical readings, even from religious readings. I do not. Let me put this clear. I am not against religion. Okay, I think religion has its place. Okay, but I also think that organized religion is not able to sort of satisfy the human desire, or the human is not able to accommodate the immensity of the human soul. So the reason I choose spirituality over religion is because spirituality allows you to explore. Spirituality does not give you prescriptions. Spirituality allows you to pick things that you find are of value and then incorporate them in your life. On the other hand, religion is prescriptive. You have to follow a certain path to reach a certain destination. So that's the reason I have an aversion to religion. So my path right now is spirituality. Spirituality can pick something from Taoism, can pick something from Buddhism, can pick something from Islam, can pick something from Christianity. It's so that you sort of have a hybrid sort of way of being that is enriched by so many sources. So yeah.
phenomenal. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of how I could have wanted that answered better, and I don't think I could have. I mean, that was to the peak.
Thank you.
My compliments to the chef. uh, well, because what I'm trying to think now is everything that you said is again is everything that I 100% believe in, and it's also
Hmm.
something that I myself, because I was raised Catholic, and I up
Hmm.
until a certain age I was fully Catholic. This is the answer, and then up until a certain age I felt the same feelings that you felt, and then moved away. And I mean, again, I'm not going to reiterate everything you said, by basically everything you said, me as well, me too, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
but what I've taken away in my whole thing of like what religion kind of is that it's the whole reason that why I love, like, for example, Socrates was the first philosopher ever that I started reading, and it kind of woke my mind up into like that whole other thinking. And the reason he
Right.
stuck with me so far, so long, inspiration, right? Like we talked about in the
Right.
beginning,
Right.
was
Yeah.
because he said exactly why I always felt about religion. Is that he
Mm-hmm.
said, yeah, we don't know anything. Religion is in your face, like,
Right.
oh no, we know the answers. This is that,
Mm-hmm.
this is that. It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Boucher from that movie Waterboy, if you've ever seen it. It's like my mama said the alligators came from and it's like the problem
Mm-hmm.
with like being that type of person. And look, again, because I'm not against religion. What I'm against is the
Mm-hmm.
type of the type of conviction that religion brings. There aren't any answers to
Mm-hmm.
anything. Any person telling you and waving you a thing, telling you, "Oh, this is the ticket, this is here,"
Yeah.
that person's a
Yeah.
liar. And even
One
the
size fits
Bible,
all sort of
exactly.
yeah.
And even the Bible talks about those people. They're heretics. They're literally people like saying this and like it's false idolship. It's not the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's how you said. It's again everything that you've said is beautiful city because it's what you said. It's nothing changes immediate.
Mm-hmm.
We love to watch movies that there's like this bad character and then one good thing happens to him and then bow he's a new person. That's not how it works. It's
Mm-hmm.
continual.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a good
Exactly.
person, even if you're a
Mm.
decent person, it's a work. It's work. That's how it is. It's
Yes.
not that you
Yes.
do, you go to a, I don't know, you go to a charity meet for 3 months and on the fifth month you can go, do whatever you want again. And no, that's not how it works. It's forever,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know?
It's a step by step thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, again,
Yeah.
I'm almost getting lost in everything that I'm agreeing with you on because everything that you said, it's so intertwined with like how I treat life and how I go about things. And again, it's the same upbringing, and
Mm-hmm.
again, it's the whole thing about Socrates is that we don't know anything. And when you get
Yes.
married to your ideas, that's a very scary thing. I mean, I'm not going to talk about
Yes.
I don't like talking about politics on this podcast, but to me, to me, everything that's happening politically is because people are married to thoughts that
Mm-hmm.
they themselves don't believe in. But it's like gang
Oh
mentality.
my goodness.
You know,
Yes.
if
Yeah,
your
and that's a
friend
very
gets
heavy
into an
piece.
argument, if your friend gets into an argument, he's your friend. You have to get into the argument, even if you don't like that argument.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stand up because
Mm-hmm.
that's your friend. It's like a loyalty thing, right? And every
Yeah.
human can
Yeah.
like get that, but it's like when you start getting lost in your own argument and like you almost forget what side you're
Mm-hmm.
in, but you're still so married to the emotion that the logic, there's no more
Yes.
logic. There's no more logic because you're literally just running on emotion. The logic
You
was
know
like,
what the
at
problem
step
is?
8 and you're on
Yeah.
step 24.
Uh-huh. Yes. You know what the problem is that and it's interesting because I discussed this and my argument is that we have a tendency to think that what we know is the only thing there is to know. That's what most of us think, and so we think what we know is the only thing there is to know, and what we have seen is the only thing there is to see. So and so we live in this very narrow world that's so constricted, almost suffocating. So when something else from outside comes and we are not familiar with it, then we sort of fight it, we resist it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, even without looking at the validity of it, we don't even care to see how could this be. So this could be helpful. We are not willing to look at how that thing could be helpful or how that new idea could take us to new levels of understanding, new levels of thought and feeling. We're not willing to look at how that person could be helpful. So we are rejecting things because we're not familiar with them. In other words, when we get into unfamiliar territories, there's a proclivity to resist, and even without thinking. We don't think, we are resisting uncritically.
Yep. Yep. And if I can
Yeah.
be honest, I think that's one of the hardest, even myself, because I catch myself doing it. Look, as much as I say that I hate it, I catch myself
Hmm.
doing it all the time. Where like like
And we all,
I'll
yes,
I'll
yeah,
hear something like
yeah.
come up and I'll be like, oh, that's blah blah blah, and even like as I'm saying, I'll be like, wait, where's this emotion coming from? Why are you so mad over a
Uh-huh.
new flavor of toaster strudel? Where's that coming from?
Uh,
And then, like you gotta like piece it together. It's like, all right, my dog peed on the floor this morning, blah blah. I'm not really mad over a toaster strudel,
uh-huh.
you know.
Yeah. But I think I think the beauty with you having the awareness that I need to I need not resist something just because it's new or just because I'm not familiar with it. I think the beauty with it is that people who have that awareness are able to catch themselves when they start doing it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but the rest don't have a seatbelt. They're sort of
Yep.
you step on the brake and you're like, all over the
Yep.
place. Exactly. So
My
that's
God.
the difference.
Man, and you know
Yeah,
what's
that's
and
the
it's really
difference.
funny is that it ties in together great where you were talking about religion because it's the double side of it, right? Every emotion has a flip. So while we were talking about the whole
Mm-hmm.
negative of that whole thing it can bring, it's also why I can empathize with why a person would want to be preaching their thing. It's because they think that they found the answer to life and now they think it's what made them happier. And
Oh
they're
my
so happy
goodness,
that they
yeah.
now want to give you that answer. So in that sense,
Uh-huh.
it's not bad. Like literally they just want to like they're happy and they're like, yeah, why wouldn't you be happy? So like in that
Mm-hmm.
sense, it's like I get it and I get it. But then there's the flip
Yeah.
side is that when you go too far, right? And then when you start
Uh-huh.
manipulating your things a little bit and then you start taking it's like, "Oh, well, my God, I mean, like I said, when I was born religious, exactly. I don't want to go too
Uh-huh.
deep into it and
Uh-huh.
get into trouble. But I was born, I was born religious. So one of the first things that I did
Uh-huh.
when I started branching out was studying every other religion. And what I noticed is that the genesis
Yes.
of almost every religion is a copy and paste. They're all the same thing.
Uh-huh.
So literally every
Uh-huh.
religion, while we fought wars over and killed trillions of souls and lives over, right, and done
Mm-hmm.
horrendous things against our soul, against morality, right, is
Yes.
over just a different flavor of ice cream, basically, because it's all ice cream.
Yeah,
It's
they're
all
just
ice cream.
different flavors.
It's just different
Exactly.
flavors.
And
Yours has nuts, mine has chocolate. Who cares?
uh-huh. See that? And you see it's like you say, and the common denominator with everybody who is looking for a connection with the divine intelligence, the common denominator is that they're all looking for the same thing, um but they get those things packaged differently,
Mm,
um they're all looking for the same thing, but they get that thing packaged differently. So if mine is packaged with some blue wrapping, and somebody else gets the same thing but packaged and wrapped in some yellow, and the other person gets something in white, and then we think that we have something that's very personalized. No, it's the same thing that's
mm-hmm.
coming packaged differently, because you're just using maybe a different way of languaging the whole thing, the whole creed, the whole philosophy.
Yep.
But what we are looking for is the same thing. We are all looking for the same thing. We're all looking to transcend our individual selves to feel that sense of completeness. But we are all looking for the same thing. But then thinking that everything that works for you works for the other person and works for the other person is not good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where religion fails. That's where religion fails, because it comes with prescriptions. And
Mm-hmm.
what I argue in Weaving Back the Thread, my book, is that I argue and say that life is not a bloody prescription. It's a life. It's an experience to be lived. It's an experience to be lived, because then that's how you grow and learn.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And you know what's something that it's interesting too, and it's something that I'm experiencing, especially with like in my age, that I'm getting to the age where a lot of my friends are starting to have kids, and like everyone around me is starting to have kids, and now like the
Mm-hmm.
conversations that we would talk about space are now like being more like philosophy towards like child rearing and parenting and
Mm-hmm.
society. And one of the most interesting things that I've like taken away from, and again, I'm not a parent. I don't have a kid. But one of the most
Mm-hmm.
interesting things that I've taken away, and
Mm-hmm.
that show Modern Family on ABC actually does a great representation of this, is that you really can never ever teach. Well, you can never tell a person a lesson. People can only learn a lesson.
Yes.
But the whole thing with the
Yes.
whole catch 22 of that is that as a parent, you've never been so invested in a person. So it's like, and there's also the double whammy that that person also just happens to literally have 50% of your genes. So the probability that they'll make the same mistakes that you do are high. So you're looking at this person that you've literally never had so much emotion towards. Like, oh my God, I've never been so invested in a thing.
Right.
Like, I care about this thing doing better
Mm-hmm.
more than I care about me doing better. So you see that thing going, taking that
Mm-hmm.
left turn, and you're like, nah, da, and you come down with that parental, like, no,
Ah.
this is the answer, da, da, da. And then what happens? It's
Yeah.
the exact same thing happens. They make the
Yeah.
same mistakes you do, blah, blah, blah. Because if you would have just sat down right there and
Uh-huh.
sat down like, hey, listen, I've made da, 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 but it's also hard because the
Mm.
thing that the person you're talking to is 7 years old and has only lived 7 years of experience. You can't sit down and be like, hey, listen, I got into a bar fight when I was 25, like, you can't. There's
Mm-hmm.
certain things that they literally just can't fit in their head either, and to tell them that
Exactly.
would do as much damage as letting them find out and making the mistakes and doing so. Like, again, it's Socrates. We don't know. It's so hard. Like that. Like I'm not even a
Yeah.
parent yet, and it's
Yeah.
so hard because like where do you stop and where do you go?
Me,
If
me
if you
too. Me too. Me
intervene,
neither.
you
Me
know,
neither.
it's
Mm-hmm.
hard because if you intervene, what can you
Mm-hmm.
do? But if you don't
It
intervene,
is.
then you're like,
Yeah. It's that's an interesting thing that you brought up because okay, like you, I'm not a parent. But I do think that I have had thoughts about what you've just talked um, about how parents bring up their kids and maybe that they. I think that most parents try to live their ideal selves through their kids, and that's sad, you
yes,
know. Um,
exactly,
uh, yeah,
exactly,
they.
and and
So
and then they'll lie. That's the worst part about it.
the
Oh,
lie,
I got
and
great.
and
I
and you
got great
see.
grades as a kid. Oh, I never failed when I was in thing. And then you find out when you're 25, you're having drinks with them. It's like, oh yeah, I failed everything. I never got my degree. It's like, wait, what? You lied.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I thought we were cool, bro. I
Exactly.
thought we were homies.
I see. That's the problem. When a parent, when a mother figure or father figure, when a parent, a guardian tries to live their idea through their kids, they are literally killing that kid because that kid is a different person. That
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole different person. You cannot live your ideal life through your kid. The things you did to this podcast. So, the things you didn't do when you were younger, all the aspirations you had, the ambitions you had, you cannot have all of that materialize through you cannot force all of that to materialize through your kid.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do, and I speak from a place of humility, because I'm not a parent, but this is something I'm inviting you to think about. um, um, your child does not have the competency to understand whether some things are right or wrong, and you have a moral responsibility to give them the guidance they need. But you do not have to live your ideal life through your kid. You have to just sort of offer the guidance they need to make the choices that are fit for them.
Yep.
See, because that's where most people make a the most people mess by trying to, hey, okay, they think they think to themselves, well, this is what I wanted to be, or this is how I wanted to live my life. And so you, as my kid, are going to live my life that way. It doesn't work like that, baby. It doesn't work. Never has. So, yeah, think about that, parents.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know. Like I said, I am 100% on that boat. And let me tell you, w- you know, we're sounding great because we're not, because we're alone. I've said this exact thing in an argue in a group
Uh-huh.
full of parents and gotten the well. when you get a kid, da 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 da. I'm like, all right, I get it, No, I get it. I don't have a kid. I
I
don't know what I'm
know.
talking about.
I know.
And more so is that like this is the most annoying thing about philosophy, right? It's kind of the same thing of like engineering versus like
Uh-huh.
actually using the product that you're designing. Is that like everything is great in your
Hmm.
head, you know? Like when you're thinking about something
Oh
philosophically,
my God,
all right,
yeah.
like if a person came up to you philosophically and was like, hey, if a person came up to you and slapped your hand out of nowhere, what would you do? Philosophically, you're gonna be like, oh well, you know,
Hmm.
you turn the other cheek because we're all humans and you don't know what he was doing that day, da, 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 right?
Come on.
Yeah, and then it happens to
Come
you and
on.
you're
Don't
like,
go
yo,
that
come here.
way.
You know, emotion and philosophy are two different things, way different. Like I could sit here
Oh,
philosophically and say
gee.
all I want, but the difference of like action is way different. I'm saying all these things
Uh,
about how cool I'm gonna be as a
you
parent,
know.
and then in 40 years my kid's gonna listen to this and be like, wait, you were this cool, bro? This is a
Yeah, yeah,
military state in
yeah.
this house. I don't do nothing. And I'm like, wait, how do you watch my videos? You don't have any
Easy.
internet. How are you awake past 7:30?
Uh-huh. You see, and then I think that's why people that's why people find philosophy something they would not want to pursue because they think, well, um, these things just exist in the ideal,
Yeah.
in the ideal kind of world, or maybe they're so abstract. Okay, call it abstract philosophy, like it's not. But then, okay, we do have abstract philosophy and we have practical philosophy. And I think there's need for abstractness in philosophy in as much as we need a um, practicalness, we also need abstractness, you see. um, because um, because if we think about it's the abstract helps us to think about the practical, and the practical helps us to think about the abstract. It's like they're both essential bricks of the same wall,
Hmm.
so, but then again, it's philosophy that encourages us to do inquiry into a lot of things in life. So I wouldn't do away with philosophy altogether. But like you said, philosophically, when someone tells you, then if someone comes and hits you, what do you do? Okay, philosophically, you think, well, um, I'm just going to sort of walk the high road
Yeah.
and
Walk
and
the high
and
road.
and,
Yeah.
and won't do anything. Yeah, and won't do anything. I mean, I'm going to be I'm going to walk the high road. I'm going to be to sort of be composed and not lash out. And but then in the real world, when someone does that, you want to punch them right in the
Yeah. Right
face,
there. Ah!
because well, how could you do that? How could you do that? But
Yeah.
and
My mom
that's where
said if somebody
humility,
hits me, I
that's
hit them.
where okay okay, listen to this. Now that's where when it comes to that, that's where you sit and say, well, there's need to be humble. There's need to be humble. Be humble and know you're human. And being human means that you have emotions, and some of these emotions will get the better of you, and you will react. But then you can always sit and think about what you did and feel sorry about it, or how you can do better next time. So yeah, I think we're all brought to that place of humility when we think about the reactions, our reactions to things that we go through as humans.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think philosophy is like a really important thing, and I think that like people that are like a little more introspective, that kind of like always kind like those are some of my favorite people. And
Hmm.
I have a friend of mine who it's almost unreal how many things I like think about like he'll say something or he'll do something and I like think about like a lot after because it just it's so it puts a lot I put a lot of thought into it because
Hmm.
he'll just do things that are just like wow. There was one time that he just got like a new dog and this dog was doing all the annoying things you can imagine, right? And then so
Uh-huh.
there's one time that we come home and the dog starts like literally like pooing right in front of him, like right in front of him, like dropping one like right on the like right on the couch, like just
Uh-huh.
doing it. And I remember he just looked at her and just like
Dropping
sighed.
bombs.
No, yeah, and he just looked at her and like sighed. And I was looking at him like, dude, you're not even because like obviously don't hit the dog. That's not right. But like at least yell, do something. Like, ah, something. Ah, what are you doing? I mean, like I can't hold that back. I'm Spanish. I'm Spanish. I'm gonna hold that back.
Uh-huh.
Impossible. Impossible. Might as well cut my tongue out. So
Uh-huh.
so I'm looking at him like, dude, I know you got a little Spanish in you. You know how you're not yelling. And he was just like, looked at him. He was like, what would be the point? The reason why she's doing that is because she doesn't yet understand the concept of like she's doing something wrong. So if I were to yell at her, she would even understand what I'm like, what she's getting yelled at. And I remember I just looked at him. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you were able to go, like you were able to literally digest that event,
Yeah.
think that, and then not act within right then.
Mhm.
I would have yelled,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Got my dog to been like, and like thought about it 2 hours later and been like, oh yeah, I messed up. He talked in a
Yeah.
millisecond. He figured it all out.
That was stupid. Yeah.
Unreal. I still
Yeah.
think about
But
that. It's
then
like,
you would like,
how could you do that? I cannot.
I know. I think it's a thing with most introspective people, and I do think we're all introspective, but we are introspective in varying degrees. I mean, some people are more introspective than others, because
Mm.
I think we all get to a point where we have to really go within ourselves, like be have that interiority of being, go inward. We all have that moment, but I think some people go deeper than others. And I think we need to nurture that more, because I think it's a form of self-care. Because now, taking for example what your friend did, um what people do, like you said, yeah, some people would go to an extent of hitting the dog, which isn't good. But then he was able to understand that if I yell or if I hit the dog may not even understand why I'm doing that,
Mm-hmm.
and it may not be helpful, because the dog might do that next
Yep.
time. So he probably help the dog not do that in the future. So you see, I think it's a thing with introspective people. They don't act impulsively, which I think it's a very, very good thing.
Well, you see, I can't do that. I would say I'm an impulsive introspective because I do things. I would say I'm really impulsive, but then what happened is that like immediately after I'm like, oh wait a minute, what did I just do? And then I
Hello,
really
you
think
there?
back on it. Yeah, I'm the type of person that I do about 5 hours of thinking for 5 seconds of action. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll do one little thing and really think about that for the rest of the day. Like, oh wait a minute, did I? Oh man.
So
Uh,
5 seconds of action, 5 hours of thinking.
oh, easily. Or I'll just do one little thing and just be like, oh, where did that come from? Or just, my God, or just one thing that I've like realized lately is have
Mm-hmm.
you ever, when you hear something, especially it's something that I did a lot more when I was like younger, and I mean I'm still young, but what I would do is when I would hear something that I would disagree with, I would immediately bounce up, right? And I don't mean I would immediately argue it, but I would immediately
Mm-hmm.
be like, oh, well, I would kind of like get into that. I would as somebody would say, I would hit that ball for sure. If somebody was pitching
Mm-hmm.
it, I would for sure bat at it. And
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times, I mean, like a lot of times it would bring pretty cool conversations, but a lot of times it would bring pretty emotional conversations because again, I would question ideas that people were married to, and when you do that, it's a whole avalanche of things coming back with it. So what I realized that I would, so one thing that I would kind of like started turning my head on is that when I would do that, like, oh, what do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
Another voice in my head would be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why did you just do that? You're really about to like get into this 2 hour conversation about, Uranian beers. Like, why do you care about this? Why are you gonna get into something so minuscule? Like, what is the point?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've just, again, it's what we talked about earlier. It's just like everything just changes. When I was younger, I thought that was kind of like a cool
Yeah.
thing because it's like it really annoys me when somebody disagrees with something but then doesn't say anything. And then, like, 3 years later, you found out, oh yeah, I actually disagree with you. It's like, oh, why didn't you say it then? Why didn't you just speak up right there at the
Mm-hmm.
moment? We would have terminated all problems right then. I'm not that I'm
You
not
see,
I'm not unreasonable. If you tell me that if you tell me you disagree with me, I'm not gonna start a war with you. Tell my friends to go beat you up. I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, I see your point
uh,
there.
yeah,
That's it.
I was having, you remind me, I was having a conversation with a friend, with a actually, yeah, with a friend, and I was telling him, we were talking about, I don't remember what the topic was exactly, but we talked about the idea of, having to wait before you react to something you hear or see from someone. And I was telling him that, before, I, just like you, I used to act impulsively, and I would be quick to speak, I would be quick to act, to react. But then later, I think to myself, that wasn't wise of me to do. Or
Mm.
maybe that wasn't wise of me to say. I should have considered, I shouldn't have said that, or maybe I should have done that. So I was telling that guy that as you grow, okay, I remember what we were talking about. We're talking about, someone who, he was telling me about, he's a church guy, so he was telling me about someone, and I was telling him, but because you had what you had from the people that excommunicated him. And then he said, yeah. So we were saying that, when you grow older, then you begin to think about issues, beyond what you can see, and you begin to also probe beyond what you can hear. So you look at beneath the surface. You're not quick to say things about a person just because you had people say, something about them. So I think it comes with growth. It comes with when you grow and begin to, see how life works, and again you're humbled, and then you're very careful and cautious about the things you do and the things you say.
Mm. I'm just thinking.
It's life's.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, just this talk, like, wow. Just you're definitely kin, definitely like a philosophical kin for sure, for sure, for sure.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah. What I'm thinking is, do you have any other methods in which you kind of distribute your philosophies? I guess because you have one thing I've been kind of waiting to tell about is you also do like a singing type of thing, right? You do what, TikTok videos with singing duets? Is that correct?
Oh, that's just for fun. It's called Smule. It's an app. It's an app I found. I think someone was using it, and I saw the video they had posted, and I checked it out and found out it's a singing app. And because I love to sing, it's actually, one of my pastimes. I love to sing. Um, from from when I was little, I used to, even when I was in elementary school, I used to sing during the, assembly time. So when I found out the app, I decided that this is what I'm gonna be using when I feel bored or when I want to have some fun. So that is purely for fun. I don't think there's anything philosophical, uh, maybe anything educational. I don't think, that's just for fun, just posting and sharing that fun moment, with people. Okay, so aside from writing, I also sing for fun. Okay, I love karaoke's. Do you love karaoke's?
I
Karaoke.
mean, I'll do karaoke. I mean, like I do like being. Well, I can't say I like it. I'm pretty comfortable being in front of people. Like
Uh-huh.
I can do presentations pretty well, and I presented in front of like pretty big groups and within like throughout my life. Always liked it, and I've always liked talking in public and things like that. Well, I can't say always. No, yeah, always, honestly. But I would say that I've gotten better. I'm thinking back to some times that I really, ate my lunch when I was younger, but I still liked it. If I can be
Mhm.
completely honest, even if I
Yeah.
wasn't that great about it. But
Yeah. So,
no, I mean, like
oh,
karaoke, I feel like the same way. It's like I'll go up there, like out of confidence and be like, oh yeah, I'll do it, and I'll have a lot of fun, and I'll definitely make a lot of people laugh. But is it gonna
yeah.
be a thing that like you're gonna be up there and be like, yo, oh my god, somebody should get that dude a record deal? I mean, look, one of my
I
running
know.
jokes in this podcast
Uh-huh.
is that I have a
Uh-huh.
sponsor and I sing them like a tune that I make up every podcast, and it is the worst thing ever. And I always end it being like, yeah, now where's my record deal? What's up? You just heard that. You just heard that.
Yeah, record deal.
Voice of God just saying to you right now. What do you want? Who's Adele?
An angel. Yeah. Give me a record deal. What's up?
Yeah,
So,
what's up?
but I, I okay, I have to say this though. I wasn't always confident. And when I was in elementary school, and given the situation at home, I come from a very humble background. I grew up in a village in the eastern part of Kenya, and I attended a public school that was in a military base. So when I was attending school, um, I I wasn't, especially from standard one to around standard four. Okay, here we have a different system from what you may have there. Um, we have, for example, after the kindergarten, kids go to standard one, and then standard two, standard three to standard eight, even though they now have a new curriculum. So when I was young, going from standard one to standard four, I used to have a very low self-esteem. And then because of because of because we were poor, and I felt that because I could see I was different from other kids, from the way they dressed, from the kind of conversations they had, with the kind of TV shows they used to watch during the prime time. And I talk about this in the book, by the way, about how kids would come to school and talk about the soap opera they watched last night. And I wouldn't have a story to tell because we didn't have a TV. So I didn't know what was going on. So, but then this one day when I was asked to sing during the school assembly, okay? And during the school assembly, we used to hoist, every school assembly day, we used to hoist a flag, too. So I was asked to sing, and because I knew I could sing, but I didn't have the confidence to sing in front of kids. So when I went to sing and finished singing, and the flag was hoisted and the assembly was over, one of the teachers came to me and told me, Alex, you can be an international singer. Wow. That was I still remember where I was standing, and I still remember how she was dressed, and how she spoke to me, looking at me, and I thought, oh my goodness, that was a very powerful moment for me. But it didn't occur to me that something was changing. So I felt that I had something to offer. So that was the first moment, the first time in my life when I felt like I had something to offer the world. Even though I I didn't become an international singer, but just
Yet.
us saying that really gave me a lot of confidence and the belief that I could offer something, and then that I had something to offer. So, oh, okay. So, what was the point of telling this story? What was the point? Okay, but I
To
was
get
saying,
people to listen to the podcast.
but I was saying that um, I think that's where my passion for singing really got to another level, and I started nurturing it. And when I went to high school, I participated in singing competition, and at one point I became number three nationally. So that was something. So singing I do for fun. I sing for fun.
That's awesome. Well, everything that I was talking about the singing was more kind of that I wanted to highlight just because it was awesome, and I want to make sure that people, make sure that you also do that, and to make sure to follow you, go on Instagram, check it out, follow everything that you're doing as well as that, because while it is fun, I mean, I'm an author, and that's my hobby. So why shouldn't it also be the thing that I derive my money from and get my profits from and everything like that? But
Uh,
the main thing that I was asking for
yes.
is what are you doing other than writing? Do you have a blog? Do you have another book coming out? Are you going to start a podcast that this was actually your first iteration for, and you're going to start it next month? What's the deal? What other things are you doing?
Okay. Well, okay. Um, I am planning on starting vlogging. Okay. Um,
Very cool.
I'm going to start that as soon as I can. And maybe a podcast, having people like you on, like you have me on today, and talking about things because I love conversations. I love engaging people about things that I think are important. And so, yeah, so that's in the pipeline, vlogging. Basically, I'll just be talking about things that I care about, and with the hope that people who have the same interest will see it and engage me, and also and get me in those conversations. Yeah. So I don't have I don't have I'm not writing a second book yet. I've not started yet, but I am planning to write another book. This is just the beginning. But yeah, so Weaving Back the Thread is my debut, but I'm planning on writing more. I will write more, and I will also start vlogging. And you check me out on Instagram, so you know when I'm going to be starting that.
Yep, definitely. And you heard it here. This is just the beginning. I'm telling you, folks, this is the person to follow. He can sing you to sleep and then wake you up with a nice inspirational slash motivational quote to wake you up. What else do you
Uh,
want? This is Alex Bliss, as in bliss.
in the house. I tell you,
Bliss.
from Kenya, East Africa. Tell them that.
From Kenya. Kenyan Bliss. That's the new name. All right. That's what we're naming it. Kenyan Bliss. It sounds like it can be a really inspirational thing, or it sounds like some drugs you get on Fridays. Hey, I'm not judging. But regardless, I have well, I also have the podcast. I also have your Weaving Back the Thread Amazon link up right now. I'm going to show it to the people. I'm going to share the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you see what I see, right?
All right. I see it. It's on Amazon. Yeah, I see it.
Yes, and here's your book, Weaving Back the Thread.
It's Amazon Smile. Oh, yours displays in a very interesting way. Amazon Smile. I've never seen that. Looks
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah, that's my book, folks.
there
Alex
it
Bliss. That's
is.
my
Pick
debut.
it up.
Just go check it out if you can.
Definitely got to. Do you have anything to say about the book cover?
The book cover. Yeah. I actually directed the way this book cover would be designed because when I thought of the title, then I thought this book has to have it has to have some artwork with a thread on the cover.
Mm,
I wanted something inviting, so the readers could have something inviting, something beautiful, because I also have an aesthetic taste. I'm also an aesthete, okay,
mm.
and I love beautiful things. So I wanted something that would be inviting to the eye, and inside you'll also find something that will help you, hopefully. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You got to check it out. I'm sorry I didn't ask this earlier. Do you have a website or anything?
A website, that's I will have one up soon.
Okay.
It's under construction, so yeah.
Well, under construction. Like I said, everything is up on the Instagram, though. What is it again? Drop it for the people.
Yeah, even though,
What was
sorry,
that?
okay, I need to say this though about the website.
Oh
I,
no, go ahead. Go ahead,
when you
please.
go to on my Instagram, where we have the website slot, the
The
website
link.
place.
Hmm.
Because of it, we have, yeah, the link. We have the I've used a temporary link.
A
That's
web
the link
page.
tree that leads you to, yes, that leads you to my book on Amazon. Okay, so
So what is the
that's the
link
link
tree?
to
What
click
is the link
on.
tree slash thing? What is the link tree? It's ILNKTR .ee slash what?
Oh my god. Okay, I'll have to check that. Yeah, but okay. Just let me direct you to my page. Okay, I
Yep.
can't remember the URL, the link tree URL. But if you go to my Instagram, you're gonna see the link. So when you click on it, it's going to take you to Amazon, where my book is, and also there's an interview I did with Yeah International English Magazine. So there's also a link to that interview if you want to know more about me and what I had to say in that interview feature.
Wow, that's awesome. How did you get that interview?
Interview, I got it through a friend of mine. His name is Richard Gibney, who also helped edit my book. So he edits for the magazine, and so through him, the magazine invited me for an interview, and I was happy to talk about my book and talk about how the whole process, some of my inspirations, and also answering some of the contentious questions that people are dealing with today, like about the cancel culture, like about the left and some of the views that they express that people find contentious. So it's an interesting interview. Just go read it. I should send you the link up to this. But for the listeners, the podcast listeners, when you go to my Instagram, you're going to find that link to my interview.
Don't worry, I asked for formality and for the podcast listeners, for the YouTube videos has panels and I actually write everything in.
Oh, sure. I should send you. Yeah, I'm going to send you
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, we'll make sure that everything is up. But for the meantime, Instagram is the main way to follow him. Alex, this has been a phenomenal conversation. Thank you for your time. We definitely need to speak again when you start doing your vlog, the podcast. If you ever want me to, if for whatever reason you want to invite me on your podcast, uh, and so you can lose some of your listeners, I'll happily do it. And if there's anything else, I mean, there's been a great conversation. If there's anything that you need or want from me, go back and forth. I love the writing community, and I love philosophers even more. Young philosophers, even you know, you're getting it's all across the board stars go and brownie points for you. So what I'm trying to think now is, do you have any final thoughts, any last moments, any last words to say to the people?
Hmm. Okay, okay. First things first. Okay, to you, the listeners and those watching, because I know this is going to be uploaded on YouTube. Okay, you can't see me well. Okay, thank Zoom, because again, we don't have to worry about. You see, okay, my friend, we these days with Zoom, we don't have to worry about even what we just have to take care of the upper part of the body. That's the beautiful thing with Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom has saved a lot of people from a lot of problems, because you only have to take care of the upper part, okay? But I'm not saying I don't have anything on the lower part. I'm okay for the interview, for this podcast. But I'm saying that my lighting is not good, but I promise next time you're going to see my face, okay? But I hope you can hear my voice.
No, no, no,
So
the audio is
it
great.
was
Yeah.
great. It was it was awesome being on this podcast, and I want to appreciate you for inviting me. And I'm looking forward to more conversations. I mean, this is my home. When I'm doing these kinds of conversations, they make me feel very good. And I want to encourage your listeners to keep spreading the word about this podcast, because it's a podcast worth listening. I mean, if this is how you engage people, then people need to listen to this, because oh gee, this is the podcast to follow and tell people about this, and so we can support our dear host who's been so kind to invite me. So I don't have much to say other than thank you, and more to these wonderful conversations.
Thank you very much for that that I actually really appreciate that compliment. I can't tell you the amount of people that when I ask them to come on, they think it's like a Jimmy Fallon interview. They're like, "Oh, like
Mm-hmm.
do you have like the questions?" I've had a couple people that have straight asked me for like a printed copy of what the questions I'm gonna ask them are,
Mm-hmm.
so they can like think about it
Oh,
beforehand.
oh yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't do
Oh
any of that.
yeah.
I don't edit. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think about questions. There's no interview.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a talk. I consider every person that I'm talking to a really good friend for that
This
moment.
is a very easy, yes, a very easy conversation, and I've not. I mean, it just flowed naturally, and I also don't like situations where I have to like sort of do something that's scripted. So I've
Yes, I
enjoyed
hate
doing
doing a
this.
show and dance,
Enjoyed-
you know?
I have enjoyed doing this a lot because it just flowed naturally, and the conversation just flowing, and we're both having fun doing this.
Oh, yeah. I can't tell you how many cuz everything is different when you talk to people versus what you tell your friends, you know what I mean? Like when I go online, I say I have a podcast, there's a whole bunch of people going like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome." I tell people in real life that and it's like, "Oh,
Mhm.
oh you got a podcast." You know, it's all that whole like it's like, oh, okay. So especially
Yeah.
when I tell a person, it's like, oh yeah, I just recorded a podcast episode today. It was 3.5 hours. They're looking at me. It's like, all right, what were you talking about for 3.5 hours? Why? Why would
Mm-hmm.
you do that to yourself, to another person? Why would you put it in the internet and torture other people with it? And
Uh,
I'm just thinking, it's like, dude, you've never been at a bar and had a conversation with a person for 3 hours, you know, or you've never, like if that's how you are, how are you with it when you get like a soulmate? It's just
I
like you
know.
having dinner in silence every day.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
you talk to your friends, you just talk. And to me, that's how I treat the podcast. Like everyone is doing something that
Mm,
I'm interested in. So to me, they're a friend, they're a colleague, they're a peer.
exactly. And this feels home. You know why we've been able to talk this long? Do you know why?
Why?
Because I felt comfortable being here.
Yes. Well, like I'm agreeing with your emotion, but like I agree. Like, well, thank you for saying that you feel comfortable, but I agree that comfort is everything. If you're not comfortable in something, then like everything feels rigid and like it like
Exactly.
it's actually what we were agreeing about, or what we were talking about before. That like when meeting people that have disagreeing thoughts, well, if
Yes.
you're uncomfortable and a person
Mhm.
disagrees with your thoughts, you're way more likely to like become defensive.
Oh,
Whereas like
heads
if you,
up. Okay, heads up, listeners. Welcome to the second segment of our podcast. Okay, keep going.
oh my god, I know, I always do this, that like is that
I
I end
know.
it,
I know.
I
I
say
see this.
bye, and then like a cool thought comes up and I'm like, hey, you know what, I just thought of this. You don't understand, I do this all the time. I do this all the
That's the
time.
beauty of it. That's the beauty of it.
I do it
It
all the
doesn't. It
time.
doesn't. Doesn't matter if it goes for 2 minutes or 1 minute. Yeah, but just keep going. I'm loving this.
God, and the worst part about it is that I honestly I agreed with you so much I forgot what I was saying now.
Thanks to me.
Oh,
Thanks to me.
it really wasn't that important. I'm telling you. I say a lot of stupid shit. A lot of it.
No, no,
Uh
no, no, no. But it's okay. I mean, it was this was fun. It's I loved every bit of it.
oh well, thank you. And this actually will be the end of it. I pretty promise. Uh this is the end of the podcast. AR's Tales. Almost messed that up. AKA the ART podcast. It has been a pleasure. This is A.R. Mirabal, Alex Blizzy. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. Peace out. Thank you again.
Thank you, thank you, and looking forward to having you. Um, Looking forward to podcasts like this in the future. So, see you, listeners. I hope you can see my shadow. This is not me. This is my shadow. Goodbye.
uh, all right, bye. Oh, this is gonna be really funny when it comes up on
Bye.
YouTube. All right, this is the end of the podcast. Peace out.